All right, there's How Sweet It Is coming up now. How Sweet It Is, a 36-foot Eliminator. Brent Leach, the driver. John Peterson is the throttle man from California. Brent from Mira Loma. John from Goleta. Powered by two 500 horsepower inboards, Merc Cruisers. This boat ran very well last year. How Sweet It Is, of course, a great name in racing. First in class right now, How Sweet It Is. Brent Leach and John Peterson on board. 36-foot Eliminator. Let's go on board. How Sweet It Is now. Our onboard camera. Good ride on board How Sweet It Is. Other competitor in its class, Out for Justice in Performance 1. The graphics, the color design, and lettering on this boat once owned by the famous Carl Myers, the How Sweet It Is racing team. Carl Myers from the Empire State. How Sweet It Is now. How Sweet It Is, a 36-foot Eliminator. Brent Leach is the driver. John Peterson, the throttle man. Merc Cruiser Power 2, 500 horsepower inboards. John Peterson, the owner of How Sweet It Is. Took a first place in its in P class yesterday. How Sweet It Is. Other competitors in Super Cat Light inboard, Zip Express, In Motion, and Dirty Duck. Nice throttling there by John Peterson. How Sweet It Is. We've got Super Cat class. Grand Buoy on Ice getting the checkered flag, followed by WHM Motorsports. Spirit of Puerto Rico in third place. Grand Buoy getting the checkered flag in first in Super Cat. Grand Buoy on Ice. In Super Cat Light, we've got How Sweet It Is in first, followed by Zip Express and Dirty Duck in third. How Sweet It Is in Super Cat Light inboard. Checkered flag, How Sweet It Is. In Super Cat Light outboard, Flowmaster got the checkered flag, followed by Critical Lift and Snake Man Racing bringing up third. Flowmaster, your winner in Super Cat Light outboard. And those are your winners in race number 3 of the second annual Harley-Davidson Offshore Grand Prix here in Daytona Beach. Of course, great racing, highly competitive racing, but most of all, safe racing here at this first APBA event of the season. Getting ready and waiting for the green now as the boats begin to spread out, picking up speed. Bacardi Silver there in the mix, well on the outside. Powerboat Tours is also there, getting a little sandwiched. And we've got a green now here in race number 1 here in this Marathon Offshore Grand Prix. And on the far outside is Bacardi Silver going to the immediate lead. Bacardi Silver, out for Justice is there as well, and How Sweet It Is. So it's Bacardi, How Sweet It Is, and out for Justice, your early leaders in race number 1. There's How Sweet It Is. We're going to go on board How Sweet It Is in just a moment here in the early moments of this race here in Marathon, Florida. Bacardi Silver on the far outside, your leader. Number 39, How Sweet It Is, a 36-foot Eliminator. Let's go on board now. Rear shot, we got Brent Leach and John Peterson, driver and throttle man. Took the first in Daytona, in Daytona, the Super Cat Light, and the P class, P1 class as well. Powered by two 500 horsepower inboards. How Sweet It Is. Eliminator there on the left side. Eliminator. There's Powerboat Tours getting sandwiched there, and we've got on the outside Big Oaks Offshore. Out for Justice on the right. At the start. Everyone off to a great start. Great competition here in the P class. How Sweet It Is. Factory helicopter shot. Brent Leach and John Peterson, driver and throttle man, aboard this 36-foot Eliminator. There's that 7-mile bridge there in the distance. Great viewing point of this race. Early moments of race number 1 of this 3-race event here in Marathon. 70 competitors in all. John Peterson, the owner of How Sweet It Is. All right, let's go aboard now. Powerboattours.com. All right, back to your helicopter shot. There's How Sweet It Is, your leader in class. How Sweet It Is. There's Eliminator on the outside, a 36-foot Eliminator. Bob Leach and Tom Bruner. Eliminator going around the turn. "36-foot Eliminator." Bob Leach and Tom Bruner, driver and throttleman. They're from California. Bob from Temecula, California. Tom from Canyon Lake, California. Bob Leach, the owner. There you see the spectators on the bridge. Great vantage point. Mercruiser powered, 2 500 horsepower Mercruiser engines. There's How Sweet It Is and Bacardi Silver up ahead. Bacardi Silver. Around the turn, there is Eliminator, How Sweet It Is, and also International Offshore. On the inside is International Offshore, How Sweet It Is, and Eliminator on the outside. Eliminator and How Sweet It Is and Supercat Light inboard. How Sweet It Is on the inside, a 36-foot Eliminator with Brent Leach and John Peterson on board, driver and throttleman. Eliminator also a 36-footer, Bob Leach and Tom Bruner. Both of these boats powered by Mercury 500s. How Sweet It Is on the inside, Eliminator on the outside. Around the turn, battle here in Supercat Light inboard. These boats are second and third in Supercat Light. Eliminator on the outside, Bob Leach and Tom Bruner. How Sweet It Is right behind. Some spectator boats lining the course. Eliminator in second place and Supercat Light inboard.